Alrighty, so we're gonna start with the major bone tray. So here's the first page of the count sheet, and then the second. And I have Kim here with me. She's gonna hold the instruments up as we go through them, and I will describe them to help you remember. So the first one is a towel clip, otherwise known as a back house towel clip. So you see the jaws there. It has one clamp and it is perforating, so that's going to be a towel clip. Again, back house towel clip, and it's not very big. Alrighty, so now we're moving on to the cryo. We also call this a hemostat. So if someone says a stat or a hemostat, and then the jaws, so we call those railroad tracks that goes all the way down the jaw. And if you close that for us, Kim. So you see that it's not very long between the handles and the jaw. So that's a hemostat. The next is going to be our Mayo scissors.
Straight.
They're curved. So these are curved Mayos. So these are to cut heavy tissue, and yeah, you can tell by the tips that they're curved. And that is to cut in the body or heavy tissue. And now our Metzenbaum scissors. This is to cut delicate tissue. See, they're skinny and long, and those tips are very like for delicate tissue, and they're called Metzenbaum. Our scissors, straight Mayo scissors, those are for cutting suture. You definitely don't want to use those inside the body. So they're basically suture scissors or dressing cutters, but they're just straight scissors. Our Lister bandage scissors, or just bandage scissors, those cut bandage or like cord for C-sections and stuff. They'll use that, but other than that, they're bandage scissors. Our meniscus clamp, otherwise known as the mother-in-law. That's what pretty much everyone knows this as, because she's mean and has a lot of teeth in the jaw, and it holds like in the patella, a meniscus, anything with a knee, she'll clamp onto. But that is the mother-in-law. Can you show them like the curve? Close the jaw a little bit. Yeah. Yep. See how it curves out and it's got all those teeth? That's called the meniscus clamp, or the mother-in-law. Now we got the needle holders. These are called Mayo Hager needle holders. They come in different sizes, either 6, 7, 8. I mean, that goes all the way up, but this one's a 7. And you see that holds it for suturing. And you see there's not really teeth. It's just more of like a, what is it? Like a perforated. So the jaw, I'm sorry. So those are the Mayo Hager needle holders. And there's a different sizes. Alrighty. Now we got the Ochsner Coker clamps. These are known as cokers. That's what we call them. There's single tooth, well, actually double teeth, but no, it is single tooth.
It's single.
Sorry.
It's got an inlet outlet.
So it's single tooth, like Kim just said, inlet outlet, and the jaw, those railroad tracks go all the way down the jaw. But the difference between this and a stat is this is has teeth, so you'll use this for like clamping and including heavy tissue, abdominal bone. Yep. Yeah, like the fascia, anything like that. And they're pretty long. Can you, yep, show the length. So see, long, you can hold them up for retraction. That's generally how they're used, is for retraction. Next we have the sponge stick. Usually we call these the Forester sponge stick. So it speaks for itself. Usually we use this to tamponade bleeding. Pretty straightforward. It's long, can fit in the belly, abdomen, all that stuff. That's the sponge stick. Now we're gonna go on to the tray itself. Our curettes on here, they're called the Curette Sprat Mastoid. There's a 3.5, a 4.5, and a 6.5, which is like a number 4. So you see, it's like the scoop. Like that one's like an ice cream scoop, and that is our. That's our 3. Oh, must go down.
This is your 2.
Okay, that's our 2. Remember, I'm hardly in the room, so I'm not very good at this. And which one's that?
This is your 1.5, I think.
Okay.
This is your 0.
Okay, our 0. Well, the count sheets are a little off because this says we're supposed to have a 0, a number 2, and a number 4.
Yep, we got a 0, a 2, and this one's a 3.
And a 3. Well, close enough. But those are called curettes. So they'll use that to kind of scoop out debris. Yeah, debris, anything. So those are our curettes. Now on to our elevators. They call these key elevators. There's 1/2 inch and no, that one. So this is our 1. This is our key. There should be another one. And a lot of times they use these again in ortho.
Sometimes spine.
Yep, sometimes spine, just to kind of retract back, to like dislocate, anything like that. So there's a 1, and then there's, what did I say, a
2.
half?
Oh, half. This is
A half. So this little guy's a half. That one doesn't get used as much, but this one in ortho gets used a lot.
And in amputations
Yep.
to move the bone.
So those are our amputators. Just kidding. Forceps. So we got the Hudson. 1x2 with teeth. Those that rat.
So you have your small and your medium. I call it rat tooth.
We call these rat tooth on here. It says Hudson, but that's a lie. So we call them rat tooths because you see like those little teeth at the end there, and these are forceps. These are for holding tissue, grasping and holding. And again, this is going to be more heavier tissue. Then we have the Ferris Smith. Okay, so these, there's a difference, and I'll show you in the major lap, but these are called Ferris Smiths, and you see the hips right there. That's how you can tell the difference. And then these ones have teeth as well, like the rat tooth, but the hips is what gives it away, and the little railroad tracks on where your hand is. Will you show them how you're supposed to hold it? Okay, so this is how the surgeon's gonna hold these. So that's why those hips are a little bit wider, because these are definitely for heavy tissue.
Using PDA.
Our Adsons, These are like the small version. These are for skin, closing skin. They have teeth and they have hips, but they're small. You see how they're just tiny in her hand there? So those are Adson tissue forceps. Now we have the knife handles. There's a number 3 long and a number 3 short. So there's our long one. That's for deep, like, abdomen. And then hysterectomy or like a hip, a total hip. The short, that's, you know, make incision. So those are both number 3s. Have any other? We have a 4. No.
Negative. They're all 3.
Okay. So then, pretty self-explanatory here. The mallet. So this is a mallet. We use this a lot in total joints, getting those implants in. Pliers. So those are part of major bone. We don't really utilize those as much. What have you seen those used for? I've seen them used to pull stuff out.
Yeah,
that was
before
stuck.
before we got the wrong tooth.
Yeah. So those don't really get used as much. Usually we use those as a tool instead of an instrument. The bone tamp, that is just kind of looks like a stick. So you just tamp the bone like the dislocate.
So you could use the dislocate, or like in neuro and everything, they'll use the tamp to get all the fat off, and then when they put that glue stuff on, and then they'll just...
Oh, yep. Okay. So yeah, the tamp, we don't use that as much anymore, but we use it in neuro and ortho. Retractors. So Gelpy, this is one of my favorite instruments. And you can remember this is the Gelpy Yelpy because it has those two kind of outputting prongs there, and that's to hold tissue, retract it open, and that's a self-retaining retractor. Because you show them that one more time, Kim. So a self-retaining means we can just retract without somebody holding it. It will just do that all by itself in the body. That's the Gelpy. Osteotomes. So we have a 1/4, 3/4 inch, and a 3.2. So osteotomes are used for many different reasons, usually to is that the half? Quarter, sorry. So that's our quarter. This, we usually use this one to get cement, like excess cement off when we do total joint, because we don't really use it in too small of like podiatry or something like that. Then the next one's a half. Should be that one.
Nope, that's a 3/4.
No. Do we have a half? Did I say half?
So I have 1 1/4, 1 and
Oh,
quarter.
sorry. Okay, just kidding. 3/4. Do the
3/4.
3/4. Okay, so this one's used most often, and this is to kind of chip away at the bone, to get, like, if the saw misses it, this will pick up the leftovers. So this is our 3/4. And our 1 inch, they use this to retract quite a bit. And again, this is the same thing. And then we got the 1 1/4. And this is definitely like if we need to kind of scoop some bone out. It's like kind of like a spatula. You get underneath it and you use your mallet and kind of tap. So those are osteotomes. Now the retractors, Holman. We have a sharp Holman. should be a quarter. And then both of them.
Lauren, I'm heading out.
Okay, bye, Mamie. So that's our sharp, and you see like the tip is got more of like kind of like an arrow looking, so that's our sharp. And then you have our Holman 9.5.
Mm-hmm. No, it's this one.
Okay, and that one is that also sharp?
This
No,
is
that's dull.
And then this one's dull.
Okay, so they call this one right here a baby Holman because it's the smallest in the set. They use that a lot of the times, more often than not. And then this one is our biggest one that she has in her right hand. And that one is also the dull.
Yes, it's
That one's also dull. I hardly ever see this used unless it's like a total hit and they're desperate. But that was kind of like the old school Holman. But that's the big one. That one's the 10. Is that the 8 3/4?
8 3/4.
So that's the 8 3/4. All right, Sen retractors. These are usually used like carpal tunnel or like a shoulder. You have your dull and then your sharp end. So your little rake, just think you got a rake on one end and you kind of have like a hoe or something on the other end. Those are our Sens. Then our Army Navy. They're kind of like a Sen, but they have just like a shorter end and then that longer end there. So just think like the Navy, the ship is the longer end and the Army is the shorter end. But those are Army Navy retractors. Tractor Murphy 4-prong blunt.
Or Volksman.
Or what?
Volksman.
Volksman.
That's what I know.
Yeah, so we know these as Volksman rakes or just rakes. On here it's the Murphy 4-prong blunt, and these are used like at the start of the case. We usually will retract back to widen the incision. But again, these are rakes. All right, Freer. It's double-ended. So the Freer elevator, you want to describe that one?
This is basically when we do the carpal tunnel, we get that little tendon right there, and then and then you can do it for when bone cement happens, they can carve it off if they don't have a little scoop.
Okay, so this is called a Freer elevator. And then our next is the Rongeur. On this count sheet, it's called the double action, and she'll show you that again. Reason being is that action right there. And this is when they're kind of biting the bone. So that double action there, it kind of helps them so they're not having to do so much force. That's the double action Rongeur. And that right there, you really have to watch it. Can you show him so in sterile processing, and I probably should have went through this, but in the scoop part, show him that. So right there, you got to really make sure all that bone and debris is washed out of there, because that's how we get contaminated. Damn it, Dr. Person was calling me. All right.
We should have the bone and the
yank hour suction tip. So this is a yank hour. This is for suction. So this, it pretty much speaks for itself, but You put this on a suction tubing, and
Fluid,
again,
burden.
again, you gotta watch the cannula, because can you face that cannula towards the camera? So inside that cannula there, that's gonna have your tissue remaining. So they'll show you that in processing how to get that stuff out of there, but that's what you really have to keep an eye on. And then the bone hook. So this
For amputation.
for amputation, and like when we are trying to get like the hip,
Okay, acetabulum.
yep, the acetabulum out in a total hip, this is what they'll use. And then there's a ruler in there, but that's pretty self-explanatory. I don't think do we have it in this one? No. Okay, but well, there's usually a ruler, but once you see the tray in person, you'll be able to spot the ruler, I'm sure. But that's the major bone. We're going to move on to the major lap tray in just a second.